All right, buckle up, everyone.
We are diving into the intense world of coding interviews today.
Oh, yeah.
Specifically, this platform.
Called LeetCode that
Yeah.
everyone's talking about.
Yeah.
You know how it goes.
Pressure's on.
The puzzles are tricky.
Right?
It's practically a rite of passage.
It is.
And you want to know the funny part?
I've got this stack of articles you sent.
Yeah.
And just seeing that solved button on LeetCode.
It's kind of addictive even just thinking about it.
Oh, I totally get it.
That little hit of dopamine when you crack the code.
Right.
It's super satisfying.
Yeah.
But here's the catch.
Just blitzing through LeetCode.
Okay.
And genuinely having the skills to crush it in a tech career.
Those are two different things.
That's what this one article...
I saw the LeetCode trap really got me thinking.
Okay.
It's like you can ace a driving test.
By memorizing the answers.
Sure.
But then you get out on the open road.
And, well, let's just say it doesn't end well.
That's a perfect analogy.
The article talks about how
Copying solutions.
while tempting,
Okay.
can actually backfire.
It's like using a calculator for basic math.
You never really learn to do it yourself.
You're just relying on the calculator,
Right.
not building those mental math muscles.
Makes sense.
And this can lead...
And to a whole bunch of problems down the line.
Okay.
Right.
You might be able to code a solution.
But you don't really understand why it works.
So something goes wrong,
Oh.
you're stuck.
It's like following a recipe.
Without knowing why certain ingredients work together.
Yes.
You can follow the steps.
But you can't get creative or adapt if needed.
Precisely.
And those aha moments you get
Yes.
from struggling.
And finally figuring something out on your own.
Those are crucial.
For building deep understanding and confidence.
Oh, those aha moments are the best.
That feeling when it finally clicks.
Yeah.
And this article's telling me I might be missing out on those.
If I'm just copying solutions,
Okay.
you've got my attention.
It's all about using LeetCode as a tool.
To sharpen your problem-solving skills.
Not just a way to rack up solved buttons.
So how do we escape this LeetCode trap?
I'm guessing it's not about swearing off the platform altogether, right?
Definitely not.
It's about using it strategically.
Okay.
The article actually lays out some...
Really practical steps to get the most out of LeetCode.
Okay, lay it on me.
Our listeners are all about actionable advice.
It all starts with embracing the struggle,
Okay.
instead of immediately looking for a solution.
Set a timer and try to tackle the problem.
Independently first.
Get those brain juices flowing. I like it.
Exactly.
And if you're truly stuck,
Oh,
that's where hints come in.
okay.
But the key is to use them strategically,
Think of it like asking for a nudge in the right direction.
not for the whole solution.
So no peeking at the full answer in the forums.
Right.
Try LeetCode's built-in hints.
Maybe break down the problem on paper.
Okay.
See if you can draw parallels to other problems you've solved.
It's about training your brain to think critically. And even if I do end up using a hint,
The article emphasizes the importance of...
still coding the solution myself.
Absolutely.
That hands-on coding practice.
It's where the real learning happens. You're solidifying those concepts.
And building muscle memory.
Muscle memory. I like it.
And here's a little bonus tip.
Okay.
Don't stop at just one solution.
Wait, there's more than one way to solve these coding puzzles.
Often, yes.
And exploring different approaches.
It's like unlocking secret levels of understanding.
Ew.
You might find a solution that's more elegant
More efficient.
or just plain cool.
Okay, now you're speaking my language.
I love discovering those aha moments.
It's like finding a hidden shortcut in a video game.
Exactly.
And speaking of shortcuts...
The article stresses the importance of revisiting problems,
Okay.
just like reviewing notes after a lecture.
Helps solidify your understanding.
Right.
Coming back to a problem a few days
Weeks later.
can lead to some serious aha moments.
That's like that saying.
Practice makes perfect.
Or at least it makes progress.
But the article also makes it clear that...
LeetCode alone isn't enough to ace those coding interviews.
Right.
It's like training for a marathon by only running on a treadmill.
Yeah.
You need to build solid foundation first.
Exactly.
And that foundation starts with...
Data structures and algorithms.
Okay, here we go.
Think of data structures.
Like building blocks for your code.
Okay.
Imagine building a house.
You wouldn't want to just start piling up bricks without a plan, right?
Chaos.
Definitely not the sturdy foundation we're going for.
Exactly.
Things like arrays,
Linked lists.
trees.
Hash tables.
I've heard of some of those.
They each have their own strengths and weaknesses.
Knowing which one to use
And when.
is key to writing efficient code.
So it's like choosing the right tool for the job.
Precisely.
And then you have algorithms,
Okay.
the recipes you follow to process data and solve problems.
Searching,
Dynamic
dynamic programming,
Fancy.
all these fancy terms. They're the instructions that tell your code what to do.
Okay, so data structures are the ingredients.
Algorithms are the recipe.
And LeetCode is.
The kitchen where we experiment and practice.
I like that analogy.
But even with the best ingredients.
And a killer recipe.
Yeah.
You need to know how to optimize your cooking time.
And use your kitchen space efficiently, right?
Efficiency is key.
That's where understanding time and space complexity comes in.
Okay, time to break down these technical terms.
Hit me with your best ELI 5 explanations.
Think of time complexity.
Like measuring how long?
The time it takes to bake a cake.
Increases as you add more ingredients.
More ingredients, more time.
More ingredients, more time.
Similarly with code.
The more data you have,
Okay.
the longer certain operations might take.
So time complexity helps us write code that runs quickly.
Even with large amounts of data.
Got it.
What about space complexity?
That's like measuring how much counter space you need.
To bake that cake.
Okay.
Some algorithms need more memory to store data as they run. Space complexity helps us write code that's memory efficient.
So we're not just aiming for code that works.
We're aiming for code that's elegant.
Efficient.
And doesn't hog all the resources.
It's like being a coding Marie Kondo.
Finding joy in tidying up our code.
I love that.
And speaking of finding joy.
There's one more crucial ingredient for success.
Okay, what's that?
That we can't overlook.
This article calls it cultivating a growth mindset.
Oh, I've heard of this.
It's about embracing challenges.
And seeing setbacks as opportunities for growth.
Yeah.
Right?
You got it.
It's about shifting your perspective from
I can't do this.
to I can't do this yet.
So instead of freaking out.
When a coding challenge feels impossible,
Yeah.
a growth mindset helps us see it.
As a puzzle to be solved. A chance to level up our skills.
Precisely.
And the article breaks it down.
Into some really practical steps.
Okay, let's hear it.
First up, embrace the struggle.
Okay.
Don't shy away from those tough problems.
They're the ones that teach you the most. No pain, no gain, right?
But practicing smarter,
Yes.
not just harder.
Absolutely.
Quality over quantity, always.
Right.
It's not about speed running through as many problems as possible.
It's about really understanding each solution.
Okay.
Why does one approach work better than another?
What are the trade-offs?
That kind of thoughtful practice is where the real growth happens.
And that's where reflection comes in, right?
Exactly.
Taking the time to really analyze our work.
And see what we've learned.
It's like that moment after a game
When you replay your moves.
and figure out what you could have done differently.
Oh, yeah.
Keeping a coding journal could be super helpful for this.
Okay.
Jot down your thought process.
The challenges you faced?
The aha moments.
I heard it.
You'd be surprised how much you learn.
From reviewing your own work.
It's like having a conversation with your past self.
Sharing those lessons learned. And sometimes...
We need a little help from our friends, right?
Absolutely.
Don't be afraid to seek feedback from others. Join coding communities.
Find a coding buddy.
Share your solutions and get those different perspectives.
Collaboration is key.
It's all part of the learning journey.
Speaking of which,
I noticed the article also mentioned
a bunch of resources besides LeetCode.
that can be helpful for anyone who's serious about upping their coding books.
Online courses.
Even open source projects. So much to explore.
It's a reminder that LeetCode is just one tool in your coding toolkit.
Okay.
But to bring it all back to this platform,
The article uses the classic two-sum problem as an example.
to show how we can put all these principles into practice.
Okay, so for those of us who aren't fluent in coding lingo,
What's the two-sum problem all about?
imagine you're at a grocery store with a shopping list.
Okay.
Your friend gives you a budget.
And says,
Find me 2 items on this list that add up to exactly this amount.
okay,
That's essentially the two-sum problem.
you're given a list of numbers,
And a target sum.
and you need to find the 2 numbers that add up to that target.
Okay, I can see where this is going.
So how would we approach this problem?
Without falling into the LeetCode trap.
Of just copying the first solution we see,
First.
we need to really understand the problem.
Okay,
What are we given the inputs?
what do we need to find? The outputs.
Are there any special rules or constraints?
Right.
Once we have a clear understanding.
We can start brainstorming different approaches.
So like with our grocery shopping example,
We'd look at the list
figure out the target amount.
and then maybe start comparing prices in our heads.
Exactly.
That's like the brute force approach.
You try every possible combination until you find the right one.
Okay.
It works.
But it can be pretty time consuming,
I bet.
especially with a really long shopping list.
Right.
That's where understanding different data structures and algorithms comes in.
Okay.
There might be a more efficient way to solve the problem.
Using a different tool.
Okay, so instead of mentally Juggling all those grocery prices,
We could use a different strategy.
what would be a more elegant solution in this case?
Well, one clever approach.
Involves using a hash table.
A hash table,
Think of it like a super organized shopping list.
where you can instantly look up the price of any item.
Ooh, I like
As
that.
you scan through your list,
You can quickly check if you've already encountered an item.
that would complement the current one to reach the target sum.
So it's like, instead of comparing every single item to every other item,
We have the Sandy system.
that lets us quickly check for the missing piece of the puzzle.
Precisely.
And that's the beauty of understanding different data structures and algorithms.
They give you the power to solve problems more efficiently and elegantly.
I like it.
But even after you've found a working solution,
The journey doesn't end there.
right, we want to make sure our code is top-notch.
So time to analyze, right?
Exactly.
We need to consider the time complexity. How efficiently does our solution scale as the size of the problem grows?
And what about space complexity?
Right.
How much memory does our solution require? Analyzing these factors helps us write optimized code.
That performs well, even with large data sets.
So we're not just looking for a solution that works,
But a solution that's elegant
efficient.
and resource savvy,
It's about becoming a coding connoisseur.
not just a code monkey.
I love that analogy.
And the best part is
This process of approaching problems with a growth mindset,
of experimenting with different approaches.
of constantly seeking to understand and improve,
Hmm.
it's not just about acing coding interviews.
It's about becoming a better programmer overall
It's about embracing the journey of lifelong learning.
in the ever-evolving world of code.
Exactly.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Into the world of LeetCode and coding interviews.
what's one key takeaway?
You want our listeners to walk away with today?
Remember,
It's not about memorizing solutions.
it's about building a deep understanding of the fundamental concepts.
Yes.
Embrace the struggle.
Experiment with different approaches.
And never stop learning.
I love it. And to our amazing listeners out there,
We'd love to hear from you.
what's one small step you can take today?
To approach LeetCode differently
Focusing on building those problem-solving muscles.
and embracing the growth mindset.
Hit us up on social media.
And let us know your thoughts.
Until next time.
Happy code!